Hi, my name is Justine Sosa, and I was born on December 18th, 1982 in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I was born to my mom, Jody, and my birth father, Anthony, who was actually never really a part of my life. I lived with my mom, my aunts, and my grandma. I have one aunt that is only a year older than me, and another aunt that is several years older than me. And then I had an uncle who was 4 years younger than me. So we lived with my grandma for several years, and I actually grew up more like siblings with my aunt and uncle because we were very close in age, which is really weird for a lot of people unless you have something like this in your family. A lot of people don't really understand it. So I lived with my grandma for a majority of my life. My mom actually moved away for a while, and I lived with just my grandma and my grandpa. My grandma had remarried. His name was Gus, with my grandpa and my aunt and my uncle. I lived with them for several years. And then my mom eventually came back, and I moved back in with her. This was right before fifth grade. So it was just me and her. And then she actually met my stepdad, and they got married. So I moved in with him, and we actually moved to Tempe. And I lived there with my mom and my stepdad for several years until when I was 18, my mom unexpectedly passed away. And I moved out in with my boyfriend. And a year later, then my stepdad actually passed away. And that was very difficult. That's why I'm kind of going quickly through that part. And then soon after that, I had my first son. His name was Joseph. 2 years after that, I had my daughter, Giovanna. And then 2 years after that, I had my next son, Demetrius. And then 2 years after that, I had my daughter, Juliana. So, and that was my last one. I'm a mom of 4 kids. I have worked, taken care of kids, and now I am back in school trying to finish out my degree. And going to talk about my psychological constructs. They are theoretical concepts that enable one to discuss something that cannot be seen or touched, and they were developed to describe or explain behavior. I was first going to talk about parenting style. The parenting style I grew up with my grandma and my grandpa, was kind of permissive parenting that involves parents' expectations of children that are below what they could be reasonably expected from them. And also, uninvolved parents are disengaged from their children. They do not make demands of their children and are non-responsive. They weren't really uninvolved. They just both worked a lot, and we kind of just did what we wanted and didn't have really a lot of rules. So it's kind of a mix between permissive parenting and uninvolved parenting. The next concept I'm going to talk about is ambivalent attachment style. It's pretty much how I was when I was probably a toddler, and throughout childhood. I had a lot of attachment issues with my mom not being there and being with my grandma. It was hard, like, being places. I didn't like to go anywhere without, like, my grandma or my grandpa. I would kind of cling to them, and I didn't really trust strangers or anything like that. I usually just like to be with them all the time. Also, I was going to talk about language development. As a toddler, I didn't really speak a lot. I knew how to, but I guess my grandma says I just chose not to. My aunt just spoke for me and told everybody what I wanted and needed, so I just didn't speak for a long time. I was able to, I just did not. And then the next concept I'm going to talk about is grandparents' role in your life. They had an extremely important role in my life. They were my parents, basically, and still kind of are. My grandpa actually recently passed away, but my grandma is still alive, and I am still extremely close with her. She's means so much to me. I do not know what I would do without her. And just kind of these experiences were really hard and difficult to deal with as a kid. They kind of all followed me into adulthood, and I'm kind of going through this project and dealing with them now. It's kind of made me kind of a different parent than the parenting style I have. I'm more like authoritative. I have rules for my kids, but I also give them a little bit of leeway to be able to kind of figure things out on their own, but then I'm right there to step in if they need me. I learned a lot from this experience. I've learned there's probably a lot of things that I've kind of pushed down and haven't really wanted to deal with or dealt with. And as I'm getting older, they're kind of coming out in ways that I didn't really understand. So I'm actually kind of working on a lot of them still right now, because you don't think things affect you as a child into adulthood, but honestly, they really do. Even things that you don't even remember that happened. Sorry. So I just hope you like hearing about my crazy life, and thank you.